Is it going? Yep, there it is. Okay, cool. So another rant, another day, however we're gonna phrase it. New topic. Decorations. This one's pretty simple, I'd say. Holiday decorations, or general decorations. People like to put decorations around their house. Have a nice decor. I think decorations in recent years have gotten stupider and stupider. Not necessarily holiday decorations. I think holiday decorations have stayed pretty consistent and pretty traditional. A tradition in our household is nutcrackers. We have like over 150 of them. And we have like 2 shelves that we load up, and then we have other places throughout the house where we put them. So decorations like that, pretty consistent. You have your Christmas trees, or you have your menorahs, or whatever the fuck. You have the decorations that you stick with. Okay, it's stuff that's pretty standard nowadays, and when people wouldn't really bat an eye. My holiday decorations, I don't necessarily have too many opinions on. I think some people go a bit overboard, especially with inflatables. Inflatables have kind of gone crazy. I know there was one house down the street for years would put up a crazy amount of inflatables. There was actually a couple on the street that did, but they especially put up a bunch. There was like 4 or 5 giant inflatables. They had one on the roof. It was a whole thing. And it's just like, it's a bit crazy to think, I'm not the biggest fan of inflatables. I think they have their time and their place, but to me, they're just a bit excessive. I like the standard lighting, stuff like that. Some wreaths here and there. Light up the bushes, light up the edge of the house, stuff like that. It's nice and neat. Maybe some yard decorations, but other than that, but inflatables to me are just like, one, they're noisy with the fans constantly whirring, so that's not the best. And then it's just kind of meh. But it's not really holiday decorations. I don't really have a problem with holiday decorations. Although Halloween decorations, those shits have gone crazy. You either get jack shit, like you get jacko shit is what you get. You either get really bad stuff, or you have to spend like $300 for these really intricate animatronics. It's really hard to find simple Halloween decorations that are effective and look decent. Nowadays they're all either really expensive or awful. Like it doesn't, there's no in between anymore. So I'm glad we still have some of our old Halloween decorations. I remember in years past we used to make these very elaborate stuff for Halloween. But as the neighborhood was growing up and everything, we get less and less kids each year. And I'm not here for Halloweens. I'm usually up at school, unfortunately. So, that's kind of how it is. But yeah, we've gotten less and less kids for trick-or-treating. And especially with COVID, obviously, trick-or-treating went downhill. I think that goes without saying. But, yeah. But no, my main problem is these fucking decorations that are year-round. These year-round decorations. We don't really have too much of a problem with them, but some of these furniture stores or some of these home improvement shows or all this other shit, I don't get it. What is so interesting of having a ball of fucking yarn on a shelf? How is that a decoration? It looks weird. It looks fucking weird. Or, I know, fairy lights in a mason jar. That ought to spice things up. It's like, what the fuck? You're going for like, ooh, a rustic feel. Why didn't you just move to someplace rustic? Okay? You're in the middle of a big city. Nothing's going to feel rustic. I can hear trains running, a crazy Vietnamese man yelling to his customers, and all this other shit. Okay? You're in the middle of the city. You can't make a rustic feel no matter how hard you try because it's going to be loud outside. Okay? I don't care what decorations you put up. Nothing is going to make it an ideal sort of situation. Right? But that's the biggest thing. all these bitches want these rustic themes, but then want to live in the city. Because they want all the access and all the opportunities that come with being in a city, but they want that rustic, homey, out in the country kind of feel. It's just like, really? You couldn't just bite the bullet and live in the country where you have way more freedoms? Okay, I guess the hardest thing obviously would be employment and getting to jobs and stuff, especially if you work in the city. Or if you work online, that could be a problem because internet reception or internet service could be kind of spotty in these places. But, I mean, come on. Seriously. It's kind of crazy how much the rustic theming has dominated the market in recent years. I don't know what that says about people. Or what people want. I don't know what that says, but it is kind of strange that is dominant. You would think that modern styling has dominated, but no. You see the huge surge of Edison bulbs, of wrought iron, of more wood tones, other shit like that. You're seeing kind of the opposite of modern aesthetic being very, very common now. And it's quite strange. I would think, the slim, sleek, glass and metal design, white highlights, stuff like that. I think that would be the big thing. Not really. You're not really seeing that as much. I don't know whether it's due to the cost, but both seem equally as expensive. So maybe it's the maintenance. If something looks rustic, if it gets a little dirty or a little scuffed, it just looks like part of it. Whereas if something looks modern, slim, and sleek, if it gets a little scuffed, it looks bad. So maybe that's the reason why people want something that they can live in, which I totally understand. I totally understand wanting something to live in. And if you're going for a sleek, modern look, it's harder to live in that and maintain that because you have to make sure everything stays clean, everything stays polished, everything stays, just what it needs to be. Whereas with a rustic design, the scuffs, the scrapes, the bumps, the stain, they all add to the effect. Of an aged in, lived in look, because it is aged in, lived in at that point. So I maybe that's why people realized that the modern look just was too much work, and they're like, we want something that still looks nice and still has a nice feel, while at the same time can be lived in. And maybe that's where the rustic aesthetic sort of came from. I'm not really sure. But yeah. Also, costs. To get the rustic aesthetic, I'm seeing they're just as expensive, all these modern aesthetics, because these people are overcharging out the ass for some of this shit. Some of it's crazy. Like, want some sticks painted gold? That'll be $25. Just buy a can of spray paint for $7. Get sticks for free at a local park. Paint them. Save yourself $18. Like, I don't get it. I really don't. It baffles me. Maybe that's also why the rustic aesthetic has become more into play, because these people can kind of live out their crafty side, because a lot of the rustic aesthetic relies on like crafting materials and the kind of the craft aesthetic as well, so such as spools of yarn and things, or workbenches or things like that, or maybe old sewing machines or stuff. So I can understand it kind of in that sense, but it's still strange. Yeah. But I would say modern decorations, in the sense of the common styles that you see nowadays, have gone in a really weird direction that I'm not really vibing with. I prefer the modern aesthetic, don't get me wrong. I love Edison bulbs, I love the wrought iron, I love the dark tones. I just don't like the fairy lights in mason jars, the spools of yarn, the old rusted milk jugs, that kind of shit. I don't want rust in my house. The rust stays in the garage or outside. It does not go in the kitchen. But that seems to be, aesthetic is taking these old worn down things like, I have a wind dial? I think that's what it's called. The thing that goes on top of your house, shaped like a rooster with the cardinal directions, tells you where the wind's going. I think it's called a wind dial. But that, I got an old rusted wind dial. I hang it up in my living room. It's a nice, wall piece. Just like, what the fuck are you talking about? It looks awful. Looks like shit. It's a giant hunk of rusted metal. How does that look good to you? Even if it is in the shape of a rooster, it doesn't look good. Well, it's a reminder of old America. You could have so much other shit. You could get a refurbished Coke machine. Like a proper refurbished old Coke vending machine that did bottles. You could get one on like Craigslist for like $300. Refurbish it, get new paint, clean off the rust, make it functional, everything like that. Probably cost you about $400 or $500. And you'd have a functional, old school Coke vending machine in your house. And it would look cool as shit. People would find it a cool gimmick at parties. You could always just stock it up with Coke. Now, granted, Coke bottles are a bit pricier. If you have a Sam's Club or Costco membership, I think it's not that big a deal because they have those Mexican Cokes that are in bottles that you can get in bulk. And they taste better than regular Coke because they use cane sugar, not syrup. So, that's awesome. Yeah. Also, I don't know why people have concerns about corn syrup. I don't understand all the science. I don't know the distinction between it, but it's just the processed sugar that's within corn versus sugar that's grown. Both are grown, just one's more processed than the other. I don't inherently see why one's quote unquote worse than the other. I don't. Now, don't get me wrong. I prefer stuff that has actual sugar in it over syrup. It has a different taste. It has a more crisp taste, stuff like that. But I don't really get the arguments that people make against corn syrup. I don't. I don't see it as bad. Now, granted, I come from a huge corn state. Ohio is a big corn producer, as well as soybeans. But still, I don't get the argument for that. I don't get the argument against corn syrup. To me, it seems kind of strange. It really, truly does. Speaking of soybeans, though, I don't understand vegans who are vegan for the sake of animal welfare. Because here's the thing. Farming, so vegetable farming, and soy farming especially, kills a lot of animals. Okay, I don't understand any vegan that goes for the moral high ground of protecting animals. Because, sure, a cow's not getting slaughtered or a chicken's not getting killed. They are still, and you're just not buying the product, so it's a waste of food. But, I get it in that sense, but rabbits, shrews, moles, all those fuckers are dying. They're getting killed in the soybean fields. Because you got to have a good crop yield, and to protect the crops, you got to kill all the animals that want to eat the crops. You can't relocate them because they'll just find their way to another farm or back to yours. So you got to kill them. And so I don't understand vegans who are vegan for the moral aspect of saving animals, because they don't. I'm fine with vegans who do it for their health, even though there can be arguments made as to whether or not it is healthy or not, and whether or not nutrients are actively getting to your body as they should. Not to mention there are certain certain vitamins and minerals that can only be found within meat and eggs and stuff like that. And so you're losing access to those, because no matter what you do, the only way to get them is through the animals, so you can't take supplements even with them. I don't know what they are off the top of my head, but I know that's a thing. So yeah, I don't get veganism. I don't understand it. You can't do it for the moral reason, because you're still killing animals for the sake of the crop yield. And then you can't do it for the health reasons, because you don't have access to all the vitamins, minerals, and nutrients that would normally be allotted to somebody who could eat meat and eggs and cheese and dairy. So that there's that kind of thing. So I don't understand veganism. because it doesn't work morally or health-wise. So I don't get it. I really, truly don't. I don't understand vegans, and I can never enjoy vegans company. Like, to be vegan for, like, you can go, I remember days there where I would go vegetarian. Like, I would pick a day of the week and I would go vegetarian for that day. And it was fine, but I was going vegetarian. And I would only do it like once or twice a week. So I was still able to have meat and stuff and still get those necessary nutrients and proteins and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't get it. I don't understand veganism. I don't know how anybody can get behind it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to shame people that do it. That's a personal choice that they made. And it doesn't really affect anybody else. And heck, it helps some businesses that charge way too much for shitty food. Speaking of shitty food, arugula. Any of you fuckers that put arugula on a salad, a burger, whatever, any of you that uses arugula, fuck you. Arugula is horrible. It is the worst leaf, one of the worst leaves to use in a salad, on a burger, on a sandwich, whatever. Arugula sucks, and I hate people that use arugula. It's bitter. It tastes bad. It tastes awful. It's just, I don't get it. There's a time to have a bitter flavor. Arugula brings too much bitter. No matter what you do, arugula is too bitter. It's bad. Okay? No matter what you can do. You can put a vinaigrette on it. You can put fucking ranch on it. I don't give a shit what you do to it. It's still going to come through, and it's still going to be bad. It's bad. I don't know how you can reasonably buy arugula and choose that as, oh yeah, I'll totally eat this. This makes perfect sense to eat. No, it doesn't. It tastes like shit. It tastes absolutely horrible, and I don't like people that use it. We would be better off growing iceberg or fucking any other green, spinach, any other leaf. We'd be better off growing in that same plot of land where arugula is being grown. Because who the fuck is buying arugula for the taste? It doesn't even have a different texture. It's still just leaf texture. It adds literally no benefit. It's not a different texture. It's a worse flavor. It's not cheaper. It's often more expensive. So it's just stupid. Arugula is stupid, and I don't like people that use arugula. I don't think I'm crazy in saying that. Arugula is bad. It's bad through and through, and I think it's dumb. Okay? I think I'm at the 18-minute mark. I think that's good. But yeah, we went from decorations to arugula, so I think that's quite interesting. Leave comments for recommended topics. Other than that, I guess that's it.